Welcome to the weekend edition of the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. I'm Michael Thompson, and hello, Sean Aylmer.
Hello, Michael.
Sean, on weekdays, it's all about the Fast 5, the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. On the weekend, we still keep it to 5 minutes. We wouldn't be the Fast 5 without that, but we're going to pick out the biggest story of the week, the most remarkable story, a sleeper story, which is one to keep your eye on it because it's probably going to be a bigger story further down the track, and then our favourite story as well. So let's jump straight into the biggest one. What was it for you this week?
US interest rates. Inflation in the US for the 12 months to the end of June came in at 3%, down from 4% in May, nearly 5% 2 months earlier. For months, central banks around the world have been trying to get inflation lower, and it looks like the world's most important central bank, the US Federal Reserve, is succeeding. Core inflation, which takes out volatile items like food and gas, is still too high, but it's better than it was. Big implications globally. We've seen equity markets jump, happened in Australia here. The Aussie dollar jumped above 68 US cents. Bond markets moved as well. Basically, bond markets are good at predicting what will happen to interest rates. Our bond market reckons there's only going to be one more interest rate hike in Australia. Big story, Michael.
Yeah, certainly was. For me, Sean, it was a massive week for Australia on the world stage, headlined by two key events. The NATO meeting in Lithuania. Australia was invited to attend, which is pretty amazing because it's the North Atlantic Treaty Organisation and we are a long way from the North Atlantic. And so basically, as Prime Minister Anthony Albanese put it, it means kind of we've got a seat at the table now, which is pretty exciting. The Prime Minister met with a bunch of foreign dignitaries. The German Chancellor signed a big export deal there. US Congress members, the NATO Secretary General, a bunch of Prime Ministers, the French President, Ukrainian President. A lot of the chat for NATO this week was about the alliance refusing to give Ukraine a timeline for membership. It all kind of wrapped up. Still not a member, still no timeline on how they'll become a member, but a lot of support still for Ukraine. The other big event on the global stage this week for Australia was the free trade agreement with the European Union. It's floundering, basically. Trade Minister Don Farrell started the week making an emergency dash to Brussels to try to save it. End of the week, pretty much on life support. The big issue here is about getting greater access for Australian agricultural products to enter the EU. New Zealand just signed a deal. We want pretty much the same deal, and we just can't get it at the moment, so watch this space.
Okay, Michael, what about your most remarkable? I reckon there's only one this week.
Yeah, there is only one story this week. The most remarkable story, I think, is all the drama that has been swirling around the Reserve Bank for the last little while, but really it came to a head this week, the discussion over who's going to get the top job. There's been so much speculation over whether Phil Lowe would be continuing as the RBA governor beyond the end of his term in September. So much speculation, so many names tossed around. Then on Friday, everything happened in a hurry, confirmation that Dr. Lowe would not be continuing. Then the big announcement, Michelle Bullock would be taking over as governor. Dr. Bullock is a current deputy governor at the RBA. Has been there for years, very well known, very experienced, and will also be the first ever female governor of the central bank. Now, it's a big job. It's a hard job. It'll be a heavily scrutinized job, courtesy a lot of those changes that are being made in terms of the changes to the way the meetings are being done and the addition of press conferences being held after every meeting. So there's going to be a lot of attention. But overall, the appointment of Michelle Bullock seems like a pretty popular choice. Good luck to her. This has been a pretty spectacular end to a week of drama and intrigue at the Reserve Bank of Australia, Sean.
Sure has been. What about sleeper story? How about I go first on this one? I reckon the surge in house prices might be running out of steam. We already saw signs of that last month when the pace of price rises slowed. This week, CoreLogic data shows that there has been a jump in out-of-season listings, as in more people are putting their house up for sale, particularly given it's the middle of winter, up by about 10 or 11% across most of the major cities, while new listings across capital cities are still below the five-year average. The gap is definitely narrowing. Questions are why and what does it mean? Why? Maybe it's interest rates. Investment homes are certainly hitting the market again. Maybe people are seeing higher prices and want to cash in. Mind you, most capital city prices are still well below their peaks. Maybe it's just too tough out there. The big bank bosses hinted during the week that most homeowners were resilient and doing okay. What does it mean is even more interesting. More supply should take the wind out of price rises. It's going to be very interesting to watch the mortgage market, Michael.
Yeah, that is a great sleeper story, Sean. Let's finish up on the favourite story of the week. For me, I just like stories about companies doing things a little differently and seeing if it works. And in this case, it paid off. It's one of Japan's largest companies wanting to improve productivity a decade ago. The new CEO thought instead of getting everyone to work harder, he'd kind of take almost a counterintuitive approach, ban them from working after 8 p.m, no more overtime pay. They could come in early and work instead. Fast forward a decade. That CEO looks like a genius now. You've got profit per worker 5 times higher. A bunch of other factors kind of led to that as well, but it's still pretty awesome. And the best part of the story, an unexpected baby boom. You've got more of the company's staff have been having babies, going on parental leave, which for a country with an aging population is exactly what they want to hear. So clearly, if you don't work after 8 p.m., you're going to have a bit more of a life, Sean.
Funny that. My favourite story is the fact that domestic airfares have fallen to their lowest levels in a year. That is according to the Bureau of Infrastructure, Transport and Regional Economics. It has an index. It shows that the best discount fares now are well below June, way below December last year. We're talking economy fares here. Business class tickets are still pretty expensive. Add to that the news that Indonesia is the new favourite travel destination of Australians. Think Bali. I think that's a pretty good story. New Zealand comes in at number 2, followed by Fiji. More people travelling to India and Singapore as well, Michael.
All right, there we go. 5 minutes and pretty much everything you need to know in the world of business. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
We'll be back on Monday morning with the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Don't forget to hit follow and find us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. I'm Michael Thompson, and this is the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed.